Outside school, I enjoyed doing karate. What did you like to do as a child in your spare time?
I just used to like playing with my friends. We used to go up the mountain quite a lot. It was safe. Just playing hopscotch, 2 balls against the wall. There wasn't a lot to do to play like you have these days.
What did you do up the mountain?
Just build dens, just generally play in the river, even though it was called the Black River. Just play in the river, paddle, and build dens in the ferns.
Wow. And why was it called the Black River?
Because of the mines, the coal. Yeah, it's a lot cleaner now than it was years ago when I was little. And it was always, let's go and play down the Black River. The only thing I did go to when I was about 11 was the youth club. And I enjoyed going to youth club. But there was nothing else. I didn't go to brownies or guides or anything. That was about, but I didn't attend there.
Did the valleys change as you were growing up?
Oh yes, definitely. Definitely. I mean, the volume of traffic. You hardly saw a car when I was growing up. The shops. I mean, there was no supermarkets. You just had the little shops. And each shop sold something different. So you had the butchers, the greengrocers. You couldn't get it all in one store. So you had to go to different shops to buy your produce. And as I said, the traffic. We walked everywhere. Cars. Never had a car. I didn't have a car till I was married. You know, and my parents didn't have a car. We seldom caught a bus because we didn't have the money. So my friends and I used to walk everywhere. Used to walk from Turbot down to Ton if we wanted to go to pictures and walk home. Yeah, so they've changed considerably since I was a child.
When you were younger, was the mining industry like a kind of a big thing, or was it like quite minor or no?
I can remember the mining industry was still going into Herbert, because I remember actually the buckets of coal going over. And when the mines were closed, I played on this actual, where the school is now, on the slag heaps. You're talking 1964, you know, round about that time, I suppose. Well, I think when the mines closed, I mean, there was a lot of poverty. I mean, there was always a lot of poverty around anyway. But when the mines closed, then it was difficult for people to get work in the valleys. There wasn't a lot of industry here, so it was difficult for people. I'm not from a mining background, so my parents came here as evacuees. They were evacuated and they never went back. So I'm not actually from a mining background, even though I've lived in the Rhondda Valley all my life. Right, I'm one of 9 children, and I was born here, but I've got 7 older brothers and sisters who were all born in London. And when the war broke out, they used to send the children to a safe place. And my mother came here with 7 children, and they stayed. They didn't go back to London. My mother thought it was a better education in the valleys, and she stayed. And then 14 years later, I was born, and my younger brother. So I'm Welsh, but with no Welsh blood in me.
That was very, very brave of her, wasn't it?
Well, my sisters can remember being in the air raid shelters and the bombs dropping, and my mother had this bizarre notion, if she put a pillow over their faces, it would protect their faces. Why she used to do that, but there we are. It was some comfort to her to think that perhaps they wouldn't have, even if they were killed, their faces would still, be there, sort of thing. But she never went back. She came here, we evacuated to Boot Street in Herbert, and that's where she stayed until very late in her life, and she moved opposite in Boot Street.
My biggest change is going to be when I go to comp. What's your biggest change as a child?
Well, I suppose it was like yours. Biggest change is going to a new school. I went to Penyrenglyn Grammar School. It's no longer there. I loved my time in Penyrenglyn Grammar. again, we had to catch a bus to school. There were no cars, so we had to catch a bus. And it was a lovely school. I really enjoyed my time there. So I would say, like you, that's my biggest change. Yeah. Oh, well, you're all a little bit scared, aren't you? Thinking, what on earth? You're a small fish in a big pond then, aren't you? You know. But obviously you get used to it. The school was, I think it was 3 stories. 3 stories. So you had the basement, where you had different, I think it was geography downstairs, you had to go for geography. And then on the ground floor, there was, I think it was the cookery and science. And then on the floor above, I think they were other science departments. But you had 2 entrances, one for the boys and one for the girls. Yeah, and when I was in this school, the boys and girls were separated. In the old Penyrenglyn, I should say. I mean, we didn't have fridges. We had a cold room called a pantry, where you kept all your cheese, meats and milk and things like that. There was no frozen foods. Everything was made from scratch. You couldn't buy a ready meal. So everything was home cooked. There was, that's how it was. There was, no, as I say, frozen meals, no packet food. It was just pasta. No, you never heard of pasta. It was all home cooking, and my mother was a marvellous cook, except for a stew. And it's put me off for life, I will say that. But she was a really good cook. So, yes, food has changed. Well, you can just buy anything nowadays, anything at all. Whereas in those days, it was very, very limited. So
you look quite shocked, children. What are you thinking?
I thought they would have fridges back age, I know not in the Victorian times, they maybe they would at least have a little one, not a big one. I just feel shocked. I thought they would have had fridges and freezers.
No, nothing. We didn't have frozen food, so there was no need for a freezer.
Where would you keep your turkey Christmas time? Because you also have to freezer.
No, you couldn't freeze anything. It was just kept in a cold room called a pantry on a marble slab in this room, and you just covered it with a cloth, no foil, just a cloth. And it was kept in there until you wanted it the next day, and it kept cool. And you ate it because that's all you had. Couldn't go out every day and buy food. And if I didn't eat what was in front of me, there was nothing else. I couldn't say, "Oh, Mum, can I have something else?" No. And I had to sit at the table until I'd finished my food. I'd open the front door, and we lived in a basement part of the house. And I'd open the front door, and I'd, what's it today? And it was always home cooked, no salad, anything like that. Vegetables were few and far between. But we survived. I mean, cheese sandwiches. I used to love cheese sandwiches. I used to have cheese sandwiches for breakfast sometimes. But it was very hard. Very hard. But we didn't know any different. So when you look back, you think, my goodness, what a massive change. And the shops, when you had a holiday, you had to make sure you had enough provisions to last you, because nowadays the shops are open every day through the holidays, through the bank holidays. Well, they weren't then. Easter, for example, when you had Good Friday and the bank holiday Monday, the shops would close from the Thursday and they wouldn't open until the following Tuesday. So you couldn't have anything. You couldn't get anything at all. So you had to make sure you had enough bread, staple food, to last you. When I was growing up, I bathed in a tin bath in front of the fire. I had an outdoor toilet right down the end of the back garden. And in the dark, I had to have somebody to stand on the back door when I went to the toilet, because I was always afraid. And I'd shut the door and there was no light in the toilet. And because my brothers were older, they'd be standing perhaps on the back door waiting for me, and they'd go, "Come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up." And I'd be there and I'd be scared and I'd be running out. No bathroom, just a tin bath. And, well, I slept in the attic with my brothers, because we didn't have the bedrooms. So we were all piled in. But it was fun.